Perfect. So, good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining in the webinar. This is the second one which we are having this month. Uh, I think we are at about 406. So it's a good time to start. Most of the people who are supposed to join are in now. So before I kick off the webinar, the idea of doing this catch up with all of our investors is to essentially give a quick overview on what is going on in the pre-IPO space, cover certain companies which we are either investing in or had invested in the past, give updates on how their prices have moved on, how their financials have changed, and also to decide कि आज इसके बाद क्या करना है, कौन से ऐसे स्क्रिप्ट है जहाँ पे investing makes sense to us और क्या हम आगे कर सकते हैं, both in terms of investing and not investing, because as we all see that broader markets, Nifty, Sensex are down by almost 7 to 8% from their all-time highs. And FIIs ने काफी पैसा बाहर निकाला है आज के दिन. As we stand today, almost 1 lakh crore has been liquidated by the FIIs in the last 1 month. So that's a very large number. What is good is Indian markets have become very resilient and they have been able to live through this period of 1 lakh rupee redemption in the Indian markets and still manage to not let the markets fall beyond the 7-8% kind of a number. So that goes to show that domestic flows have become very strong and we are not that dependent on FIIs now. But all being said and done, the times we are in, हमें बहुत होशियारी से आगे इन्वेस्टमेंट सेलेक्ट करने चाहिए. आई थिंक वी हैव टू बी वेरी माइंडफुल ऑफ वैल्यूएशंस. क्या चीज में एंटर करना है, क्या चीज की वैल्यूएशन मार्केट क्या दे रही है, दोज विल बी वेरी वेरी क्रिटिकल इन द नेक्स्ट 12 to 18 months. जो लास्ट 2 साल में उतना क्रिटिकल नहीं था बिकॉज देयर वाज अ लॉट ऑफ पॉजिटिविटी इन द मार्केट एंड that kind of helped people make very good returns in the last 18 to 24 months. There is a request from some people to use Hindi. So what I will do is kuch Hindi or kuch English I will mix and kind of take this webinar because हमारे काफी सारे clients हैं जिनको हिंदी में पूरा comfort नहीं है तो उनके लिए we'll have to stick to English. But we understand that Hindi is also a very widely respected language. So we'll mix it up between Hindi and English. And if there is something जो मैंने properly cover नहीं किया है, and if you want a clarification, आप या तो last में query की तरह पूछ सकते हैं या फिर आप यहाँ पे chat box में भी डाल सकते हैं and we'll try and answer that in any case. Now, how will this entire webinar go? We'll spend about 30 minutes from here on out till about 4:40 to cover the 6-7 companies which we have lined up. तो हमने 5-6 कंपनी के ऊपर एक ब्रीफ बनाया है. हम कोशिश करेंगे कि हम वो कंपनीज के ऊपर कंपनी क्या करती है, फाइनेंशियल्स कैसे हैं, वैल्यूएशन कैसे है, वो कवर करेंगे. एंड लास्ट का 15-20 मिनट हम समय रखेंगे टू हैव अ चिट चैट, हाउ टेक क्वेरीज एंड ट्राई एंड आंसर व्हाटएवर क्वेश्चंस टू द बेस्ट ऑफ माय एबिलिटीज. Right. So starting off with the presentation, a little about us. Again, for people who have joined in for the first time into our webinars, Altius is a platform which allows people to invest into unlisted and pre-IPO companies. Typically, the idea is that we look at companies जो IPO से 3 से 4 साल पहले हैं and इनका IPO अगले 3 से 4 साल में आने वाला है. इस स्पेस में what we have found is कि जो एक liquidity improvement आता है, जो एक value unlocking दिखती है, जो people get to know about the company, the financials become more better, that creates a higher delta जो आपको listing के बाद मिलेगा. And what has become more important is आज के दिन opportunities listed में आने के टाइम पे fully price हो जाती है. तो the problem is कि investor के लिए ज़्यादा कुछ listing के बाद बचता नहीं है, फिर उसको थोड़ा wait करना पड़ता है to get some gains या फिर the movement is slow. So what this space offers is it helps you to invest and get in a little early. Before the actual unlocking game starts, you are already invested into the company and then you can plan an exit either at the time of IPO or even post 6 months post the lock-in of the IPO. इसमें what we have tried and solved is we have created a tech platform which allows people to sign up, view opportunities, make place orders, and also track their entire portfolios online. It ensures that there is 100% transparency on whatever company you're investing. उस company के क्या financials है, क्या ratios हैं, ये आपको easily दिखते हैं. हमारे platform पे we do not charge any separate commission or charges. So rate into quantity is simply what you're paying. So there is mental peace there. We are operationally very quick. So typically from order to payment, it does not take more than 24 hours and 48 hours on a max timeline. In Altius, we've been doing pre-IPO investments for a very long time, and therefore we understand this space very well. We have a very well managed strategy to pick companies. We have a desk which actually evaluates companies and brings you the necessary data points to make a sound choice as to what to invest into. So that's a little about Altius. Now let's continue the companies which we are covering in this webinar. So the first company which we are planning to cover is SK Finance. Now SK Finance is basically a NBFC, यानी कि ये बाजार में लोन देता है. Typically इनका जो main business है that is around vehicle and MSME financing. So second hand vehicle market में SK Finance holds a 64% market share. So it is one of the largest players in the second hand used vehicle का जो financing का जो market है, उसमें they have a very deep experience. This was founded by Mr. Rajendra Kumar Setia, who has about 30 years of experience in this space. They are very well diversified geographically. They have about 535 branches, around 8,000 plus DSAs. CRISIL rating, they have around A plus, rated by all large agencies like CRISIL, ICRA and CARE. This is how the loan book for SK Finance looks like. It has a commercial vehicle segment, which is the largest for it, which has about 42%. It has a tractor segment of about 13%. Cars is 19%. MSME is about 20%. So as you can see, automobile space loans is about 80% for SK Finance. The remainder 20% is MSME loans. Now, this is how the company has grown. In the last 5 years, the company has actually grown by a CAGR of almost 40%, both in terms of AUM, in terms of top line. 2024 में इसका AUM closed at about 10,000 crores. FY23 में they had about 7,000 crores. So again, between FY23 and 24, there is a 40% growth in the AUM in the last year also. They have a healthy ROA of 2.9%. Typically NBFCs के केस में 2% के ऊपर ROA को अच्छा माना जाता है. So SK has an ROA of 2.9, which indicates pricing power. Return on equity is 12.6, which is okayish. I would not call that very good. Return on AUM is 3.49, which is decent. And debt to equity for SK Finance is about 2.88, which shows that it is not very highly leveraged. It is at a decent leverage ratio and they have room to lend out more by raising some equity. Now let's come to business numbers. क्या इनके numbers बोलते हैं? So FY24 they did about 1800 crores of top line. 1800 crore का इनका revenue pool था and they generated a PAT of about 312 crores. So the margin was approximately of 18 to 20% on the revenue pool. They had a EPS of about 24.7%. 25 रुपए का लगभग EPS है and 230 रुपए का इनका book value per share था. इस space में there are other companies which are operating. There are some listed companies, there are some unlisted companies. Vivriti Capital is an unlisted company in a similar space. Northern Arc and Mass are two NBFCs which are in the listed space. Typically इन सब का revenue आसपास ही है. SK Finance does about 1800. ये विवृति के size का double है almost. Northern Arc से parallel है and Mass से करीबन 30-40% बड़ा है. NIM comparison is जो NIM is basically net interest margin कि जो percentage पे एक NBFC लोन ले रही है और जिस percentage पे the NBFC is giving out loans उसके बीच में कितना फर्क है. तो अगर कंपनी 10% पे लोन उठा रही है और 18% पे दे रही है तो उसका NIM 8% आ जाता है. In the current market, SK Finance is priced at about 12,000 crores. The IPO is expected to also come somewhere around this only. The EPS, the PE at this pricing is around 37. The price to book at this stands around 4. This is the last year's ratios on the last year's number. FY24 के multiple पे ये numbers गिरते हैं. How does the IPO plan look like? They had filed for an IPO. They have gotten an approval for the IPO. SEBI ने इनका IPO approve कर दिया है. 2200 करोड़ का IPO है जिसमें 500 करोड़ का fresh issue है and 1700 करोड़ का offer for sale है. Offer for sale is typically by the promoter. Norvest करके एक PE fund है, Evolvescence करके एक PE fund है, उन लोग sell कर रहे हैं. Other large investors in this I think include Mirei and IFL. The idea to raise funds is to essentially augment its capital base. जो equity का जो base है उसको increase करना चाहते हैं and basis increase in equity, they will be able to take a larger amount of debt on the books also. Now, what are the key risks in SK Finance? Concentration risk is one, in the sense कि business जो है इनका heavily rely करता है vehicle financing पे. तो कल को अगर कोई change आती है in terms of government regulations in vehicles financing specifically, so that could impact their business. Their client base is mid to low income segment because two-wheeler से इनका काफी exposure है. So event like COVID जहाँ पे एक specific economic strata का typical source of revenue comes into a little question. वहाँ पे they might have a larger amount of defaults and larger NPA expenses. Funding is what is there for all NBFCs. So any NBFCs needs to raise more capital to give out more loans, raise more money. Therefore, the capital in an NBFC company or in a bank company is something which they always have to keep increasing. Now, coming next to HDB. HDB was a company essentially which we have been very positive on for the last 2-3 years. But now we see that it has matured to a certain extent. The pricing has come to a level that we are no longer comfortable with. And okay, so let's dive into HDB and we'll cover the pricing on the later slide. So HDB क्या करती है? HDB basically आपकी HDFC Bank की subsidiary है. It is one of the largest NBFCs in India. It has basically exposure into consumer loans, enterprise, asset financing. Plus they also do BPO services. In HDB, almost 95% is owned by HDFC Bank. They stand at an AUM of almost 90,000 crores. This is almost putting them on in the top 10 NBFCs of India. Typically larger mein there will be companies like Tata Capital or Bajaj Finance, but other than that, this is one of the largest NBFCs in India. So how does the revenue look like? FY22 for HDB was bad because of the impact of COVID, but after FY23 the company has started doing well again. FY23 में they recorded 12,000 करोड़ का top line and FY24 में they recorded 14,000 crores का top line. इसपे they generated a PAT of almost 2,000 crores in FY23 and in FY24 they almost did a PAT of 2,500 crores, which is almost a 25% jump from their FY23 numbers. So what this shows us is while the overall growth in the AUM and the net income is not very high, but because they have been able to manage their finances better, manage their lending out and lending in terms better, they have been able to generate a higher delta on their PAT margin. The rest of the things are fairly standard plate. They had a AUM of about 70,000 crores at the end of March 23. In FY24, they stand at a AUM for almost 90,000 crores, which is again a very steep jump of about 30%. So FY23 to 24, the growth has been good. They have done it profitably. They have come out of their COVID repercussions. The COVID, which had quite badly impacted their FY22 financials. Now it seems like the company has been able to overcome that and is now having very steady profits in the last 2 years. This is how the quarterly numbers look like. FY25, they reported a quarterly number of around 8,000 crores with a PAT of about 1,100 crores. So hopefully at the end of the year, they should close somewhere around 15 to 16,000 crores in top line and 25 to 2,600 crores in bottom line. So between 24 and 25, at least right now, we don't see a visible PAT growth, but the overall income pool is growing by 15%. So if they are able to do some cost reduction measures in in Q3 and Q4, then this profitability can also go up. Now coming to understanding, does HDB Financial at these prices make sense? So currently HDB, like we see, it is at a uh, price to book of almost 8x. Now the closest comparative of this scale that we can find in the listed space is Bajaj Finance. Bajaj Finance is currently available at a price to book of almost 5.5, which kind of shows us that at a price to book of 8, HDB Financial might not be a very attractive bet right now. And therefore, anyone who's investing right now should be very careful and cautious. क्योंकि यहाँ से पैसे बनने के लिए the price to book again has to go up by another 20-30%, which looks a little difficult, especially in this market condition. Bajaj Housing Finance had come up with an IPO recently, and they had a even higher price to book multiple post their listing when they went from 76 to 130, 140. But that being said, HDB in itself, we should not expect that it will have a similar performance as Bajaj Housing Finance, and therefore, at a price to book of 8, I think there is some caution which needs to be exercised here. IPO again for HDB has been approved by the board of HDFC Bank. They have not yet filed for the IPO, but I think they should file in the next 1 to 2 to 3 months, and hopefully the IPO should also come in within the next year as well. Typically, they are looking to do an OFS. OFS is offer for sale. So HDFC Bank will sell around 10,000 crore worth of HDB Financial, and they will raise fresh capital of about 2,500 crores. Next, coming to Vikram Solar. Vikram Solar, like most of you would know, it is one of the earliest companies which set up PV manufacturing plants in India. So they were the front runners. Jab company like Bari and all had also not come. Vikram Solar had started solar business back then. They had two lines of business. Pehla line tha jahan pe they used to make solar modules and sell it under their brand name of Vikram Solar. Plus, they had an EPC arm. EPC arm is basically engineering, procurement, and construction, jahan pe the company essentially takes projects and constructs, erects the solar module, solar plant, and hands it over to the person for whom the erection was done. So this is a quick summary of what Vikram Solar does. It was founded in 2006 in Calcutta. They have a manufacturing capacity of about 3.5 gigawatt. They currently operate across India. They have 40 distributors, 56 resellers, so on and so forth. Geographically, they have about 40% sales in India, 60% international. So they are also dependent fairly heavily on international sales. This was similar for Vari. Vari also does about 60-65% sales through international channels. And this is how their product portfolio looks like. So solar module manufacturing is one, solar EPC is the other, and OMC business, the operational and maintenance services business, is the third one. Now, how does the financials look like? Again, Vikram was a company which had done very badly in FY 21-22. So they had run into some losses, they had taken in some wrong projects. But FY 23-24, again, Vikram has recouped its previous mojo. They have started doing again. FY 24, Vikram has done a revenue pool of almost 2,500 crores, on which it has been able to generate an EBITDA of 400 crores. This has given it a PAT margin of almost 67 crores, which is low because their interest cost is fairly high. क्योंकि इन्होंने बुक्स में काफी डेट ले रखा था, बट इन्होंने 750 करोड़ रुपए रेस किए थे फ्रॉम प्राइवेट इन्वेस्टर्स 1 year बैक, जिससे इन्होंने काफी अमाउंट ऑफ डेट रीपे किया है. सो द एक्सपेक्टेशन इज कि FY 25 द पैट नंबर शुड बी मच बेटर, क्योंकि डेट का जो कॉस्ट है, जो इंटरेस्ट कॉस्ट एबिटा और पैट में सब्ट्रैक्ट हो रहा है, वो इतना हैवी नहीं रहेगा फ्रॉम द नेक्स्ट ईयर ऑनवर्ड्स. So I think PAT number for Vikram Solar should go up really well from here on out. Now coming and understanding Vikram Solar in terms of how the financials look like. Again, Vikram Solar is one of the companies which we were very positive at the start of the year. जिस समय हम Vikram Solar लेकर आए थे market में, that time it was priced at somewhere around 150-160. Then the new blocks came around 170, 180. Then we did some large tranches at around 190, 200. So between 150 and 200 is जहाँ पे हमने larger investments कराया था. A lot of investors on this call would have also invested with us at that point of time. But since then, it has run up very fast. So from 150 to 450 का जो इनका journey था, ये 3x happened within the last 6 months itself. So right now, we think that Vikram Solar has gone up very quickly, and again, valuation is concerning here. So again, what we talked in HDFC, HDB Financial, while the company is good, while the business is good, while we believe that this should do good in the future also, solar sector in any case has a normal macroeconomic tailwind as well. But considering the pricing of the stock right now, we should be careful and we should be mindful of our entry price. So आज के दिन विक्रम सोलर 470 के भाव के आसपास ट्रेड हो रहा है, which puts it at a market cap of 15,000 crores. On 15,000, on the previous year's number, it is almost at 6x sales. Vari Energies at a market cap जिस पे ये list होगा, that is also at 6x sales. And Premier Energies is at a price to sale of 14x. So while it is at par, but I don't see any big room to grow from here. Because Vari is a much more profitable company with much better contracts and a larger size, much more widely established plants than Vikram, in my opinion. And therefore, I think that for Vikram, for the previous year, a 6x multiple is slightly expensive. So going forward, people should again be cautious and careful before investing into Vikram. They had also filed their DRHP on 3rd of October. So अभी just 25 दिन पहले उन्होंने अपना DRHP फाइल किया है. 1500 करोड़ रुपए रेज कर रहे हैं. करीबन 1500 करोड़ का फ्रेश इशू है एंड करीबन 1.5 करोड़ शेयर्स जो प्रीवियस इन्वेस्टर्स है वो सेल कर रहे हैं. 1.5 करोड़ शेयर्स लगभग अगर 300 रुपए के भाव पे लिया जाए तो करीबन 500 करोड़ का इनका OFS रहेगा. Largely they raised, so this is the detail of the recent round which they had done. So they had raised about 731 crores and this round was priced at about 122 a share. Coming next, key risk, again, typically concentration risk. सोलर इंडस्ट्री में ही ऑपरेट करते हैं, बहुत ज़्यादा लाइन्स ऑफ बिजनेस नहीं है. कल को सोलर इंडस्ट्री में अगर रेगुलेटरी चेंजेस आते हैं तो दैट रिमेन्स टिपिकली अ लार्ज रिस्क फॉर देम. मैक्रोइकोनॉमिकली बिकॉज दे आर डिपेंडेंट ऑन एक्सपोर्ट, अगर जिस ज्योग्राफीज में ये एक्सपोर्ट कर रहे हैं वहां अगर कुछ चैलेंज आते हैं देन इट कैन बी अ लिटिल डिफिकल्ट फॉर देम. And there are some legal proceedings against the promoters also which were active as far as I remember in the last quarter. So that also might be something which we need to be mindful of. Perfect. Now that we've covered Vikram Solar, let's quickly cover Swiggy. Swiggy is a company which we all use on a daily basis. I'm assuming कोई खाने के लिए order करता है, कोई Instamart के लिए use करता है, कोई dine out के लिए use करता है when we go and eat outside. So there is no need to explain what this company does. So essentially, it has three main lines of business: food delivery, quick commerce, and dine out, like we discussed. Let's quickly jump into the numbers in which Swiggy has reported in the last 2 years. So FY23 they had done a top line of about 9,000 crores. FY24 they have done about 12,000 crores. So it is a steep jump of about 34%. Swiggy is still losing money. FY23 they lost a very large sum of 4,000 crores. FY24 that number tapered down to 2,350 crores. FY25 also I don't think they have turned positive. They are still losing money, but this is how the recent numbers look like. So between FY24 and FY25 in Q1 they have increased their top line by 32% again. So 2,500 जो इनका FY24 Q1 का नंबर था उसके बदले इन्होंने अप्रैल टू जून 25 में 3,300 करोड़ का टॉप लाइन रिपोर्ट किया है. They have done a gross order value GOV of 10,000 crores and they have posted a negative EBITDA of 456 crores. So what this shows is, although for Swiggy the number has gone up, the total income has gone up by 32%, they are nowhere close to profitability. So Swiggy is a company which will really have to work on getting further in the profitability journey. So current number देख के ऐसा लग रहा है कि for FY25 again they will report some 2,000 crores of losses on a typical top line of anywhere between 15 to 16,000 crores. Now quickly covering who has backed Swiggy. So Swiggy is backed by very large investors: Prosus, Hill House, Norwest, Innoven, Harmony, DST, Axel. All of these are very large investors. The last round which had happened for Swiggy was at around a 10.7 billion valuation. And this had happened somewhere close to, I think, 2022, when I think Invesco had invested. Swiggy had done a bunch of secondary placements. A lot of Bollywood celebrities had also participated in that. This was a round that was typically priced at anywhere from 340 to 350 for different people, and most of these had invested in check sizes of anywhere from 1.5 to 5 crores. Now comparing it to Zomato quickly, because that's the only logical way to value Swiggy. So Swiggy does a GOV of 34,000 crores, whereas Zomato does a GOV of 47,000 crores. So it's about 30% larger than Swiggy in terms of their gross order value. Quick commerce AOV is also higher. AOV stands for average order value. कि typically एक इंस्टामार्ट के ऑर्डर पे कितने रुपए का ऑर्डर प्लेस होता है ऑन स्विगी एंड जोमेटो, तो ये वैल्यू जितना ऊपर रहे उतना लाइकलीहुड है दैट द कंपनी विल बी प्रॉफिटेबल. So this is a very critical metric for us to evaluate companies, because, and I think one of the key reasons that Blinkit is doing well is because its GOV is much higher than Swiggy's AOV. So 460 का Swiggy है, but 613 का Zomato है, तो वो जो 200 रुपए ज्यादा है, that provides a lot of room for the app to kind of generate profits. Now, typically, how is the market cap? So on the current revenue pool of 12,000 crores, Zomato is at a market cap of 2,30,000 crores, whereas Swiggy in the current pricing is standing at a M cap of about 92,000 crores. So for Swiggy, roughly, I think for 92,000 crores, the price which has been taken is somewhere close to 410, I'm assuming, because लगभग 240 crore shares outstanding है from what I understand. This number varies because of new issuances, ESOP pools, so on and so forth. But this is how the market looks like. So the food delivery market is currently having two players. दो ही player है इस market में, एक Swiggy है, एक Zomato है. Swiggy 11-12 हजार करोड़ का टॉप लाइन कर रहा है और उसमें दे आर लूजिंग 2000 करोड़. Zomato is doing a top line of about 12,000 crores, 12,000 करोड़ का टॉप लाइन है, बट इस पे ये प्रॉफिटेबल है. द प्रॉफिट इज नॉट very meaningful as of now, but it is not burning money, it is at least profitable. So that is why market is giving a better multiple to Zomato also. So Zomato ka price to sale multiple, which is the only relevant metric to measure these two companies, stands at 14.6 on the current market cap, whereas on the current pricing, Swiggy stands at a market cap of about 8.21. So that's a, I think, 40%, 50% discount. So while Zomato is profitable, while Zomato has a larger AOV, while Zomato looks like it is better run as of now, therefore the market is giving it a higher multiple on sales. Swiggy, because it is doing well, but it is not being able to generate profits, rather it is still losing money, is why we think that it will get a lower multiple in the listed space also. So currently, this is how the valuation between Zomato and Swiggy compares. IPO, obviously, I think this everyone is following. The IPO date is already out. 5 to 7th is the IPO opening date. The IPO will list, I think, around 13th. Approximately IPO size is 10,000 odd crores. इसमें से 4,000 crore का fresh issue है and 6,000 crore का offer for sale है, in which their previous investors like Norwest, Alpha Ventures, Elevation, Axel are exiting to a certain extent. Larger money which will be raised from the IPO will be allocated to Swiggy Instamart, जहाँ पे ये लोग और नए डार्क स्टोर खोलेंगे. डार्क स्टोर वो होता है जो आपके इंस्टामार्ट के ऑर्डर जहाँ से सर्विस होते हैं. तो this becomes crucial for them to dive deeper into quick commerce. Typically, I'm assuming कि IPO price band should be between 12.5 to 13.5 as far as news reports go. That should typically put it between a pricing of anywhere between 405 to 420. So, but it will remain to be seen कि क्या final pricing आती है. But news articles अभी recently, आज ही शायद एक इकोनॉमिक टाइम्स की आर्टिकल थी जिसमें typically they had indicated कि 12 से 13 बिलियन डॉलर के मार्केट कैप पे स्विगी का आईपीओ आएगा. तो if that is true, then typically this 400 to 420, 430 which number should be logical for the IPO price band. But they might go up or down basis market conditions. Key risk in Swiggy, typically, the largest risk is that they are not profitable as of now. So I think they will have to work towards reducing their expense, becoming more leaner, thinner, and more uh, focused on the bottom line while they are growing their top line. And other than that, I think मार्केट इज सैचुरेटेड. वी डोंट फोरसी कि कल को जोमेटो स्विगी के साथ साथ फूड डिलीवरी में थर्ड प्लेयर आएगा. तो जो भी मार्केट है दैट विल बी डिवाइडेड बिटवीन जोमेटो एंड स्विगी ओनली. सो इट इज ओनली अ मैटर ऑफ टाइम दैट दे फिगर आउट कि क्या चीजें उन्हें ठीक करके प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी की ओर जाना है. Cool. So I think this was all we wanted to cover in terms of our companies which we wanted to cover. So we covered SK Finance, we covered HDB, we covered Swiggy. Typically, the idea was to give you a sense of company क्या करती है, company के क्या financials है, क्या valuation है, उस sector में बाकी companies का क्या multiple चल रहा है, and therefore for you to get more data to make up your mind whether it makes a meaningful investment for you or not. This is what we also wanted to cover quickly. For the Diwali, we have launched a special basket which consists of 3 companies. One is Vivriti, one is Indofil, and one is Spray Engineering. Vivriti, which we covered earlier, is an NBFC which has been backed by Lightrock Creation. They have a PAT of almost 191 crores. They have 2 subsidiaries, एक asset management business है और एक debt syndication platform है by the name of UB. So we feel that this is a decent opportunity. Vivriti had last raised funds at about 1,090 or 1,080 rupees from TVS Shriram Growth Fund. And currently, I think we have some access at about 1,000 rupees a share. Indofil, I think we've covered earlier. It's a specialty chemicals company from the Modi family. Typically, we find that the valuation for this company should be somewhere around 7,000, 8,000 crores, but currently the market cap is about 3,100 crores. So we find Indofil to be a deeply undervalued company. The value unlocking is not very clear how and when it will happen, but we hope that the unlocking happens soon. Spray Engineering Devices, I don't think we have covered earlier, but this is just to quickly give you a sense. This is a company which makes systems for cooling sugar mills. So heat exchanger devices, cooling systems, water efficiency systems, energy conservation systems, ये बनाते हैं. It's based out of Punjab, and they are focused on sugar and jaggery industries. Plus, they have a base both in India and foreign countries also. So they, I think, export to more than 8 or 9 countries as of now. They have grown very well. So I think they had about 330 crore top line in FY23, but they did about 548 crore top line in FY24. So they grew by almost 40%. The profits also grew by 50%. So they netted a 53 crore kind of a PAT. There are good investors which are there. Mukul Agarwal from Param Capital is invested into Spray Engineering. IPO for this company should come in the next 12 to 18 months is what we understand. So this is quickly what we wanted to cover in terms of our Diwali basket, which we are launching today. For our Pro members, obviously, there is a further discount on the Pro basket. So otherwise, the value for the basket will be somewhere around 1,51,000. For our regular investors, about 1,50,000 on a discounted level. And for our friends who have joined us as Pro members, it will be 1,47,000. So they get a further discount of 3,000 on the occasion of Diwali. And we are also running some promos on our Pro plans. So we have 3 plans in Pro Lite, Pro Plus, and Pro Max. So they are about, I think, at a discount of about 30% for the next 6-7 days. So people who are interested in kind of joining us as Pro members can kind of take use of this discount. That's what we wanted to cover as a part of this webinar. Thank you so much for listening patiently. We will now possibly just shift over to taking questions from everyone. So there are 2 ways to post a question. Either you can put your questions in the chat box and we will try and answer it over call or over the message itself. And if you want to raise your hand and unmute yourself and speak to that, that's also absolutely fine.
Can you please share the PPT on WhatsApp?
Sure, we can do that. Sure.
Yeah, thank you.
So I will just open the queue.
So in the PPT, we have the price of respective pre-IPOs, right?
Right.
In order to pick the right one, could you assemble them, right from, the top to bottom,
Uh,
rating wise?
I didn't get your question exactly.
I
Could you come?
mean, I mean to say, like, there are like many,
Right.
they've discussed on various stuff. No, I understand I'm in a meeting, so parallelly I was just listening to it.
No problem.
So I just want there are like pros and cons with each and every script. I would want you to which are like in a good stage. I mean, rating from top to low. That's what I'm just thinking. Like if you are putting up 10 things, maybe you could put it from top to bottom like that.
Okay, sure. So
Yeah.
I'll not do a top to bottom ranking, but what I will suggest is our clear cut bets have always been companies wherein we have found value, we have found growth, and we have found a way to exit. And that playbook has played out decently well for us. So I think typically in line with that, companies which we had added into the Diwali basket are something which fits well into that system. So Vivriti, we feel that it's a growth company. It should keep growing for 30-40% in the next 3-4 years, then come out with an IPO. It should give a decent exit to people. Spray engineering is in an interesting space. I think it is one of the very few companies which is working in that space. So I think again, a decent uh, area to play in with a company which is of a decent size, and the valuation is also something which we are comfortable with. So spray engineering is at say a market cap of about 1100-1200 crores, so that looks logical to us. And third, which we did cover in the Diwali basket, was the Endofil. So Endofil, while it is not growing very fast, the IPO is not very clear, but it is a deeply undervalued stock because we feel that the bare minimum pricing or bare minimum market cap for Endofil should be somewhere 2x of what it is currently available at. So what I would suggest is instead of ranking individual stock, we should evaluate it in terms of a basket, which would kind of make more sense for as a portfolio approach. Moving on, I think I'll just quickly take questions in the order in which the hands were raised. So, Mr. Santosh, if you could unmute and ask. Okay, I don't think he's able to unmute. Mehul Pujara, if you could put your question next.
What is the HDB price, IPO price expectation?
I hope that it should be somewhere around 1,000 to 1,100 kind of a range. We don't have any indication as of now, but 1,000 Hazar Gyara so is what we are hearing on the street also.
And do you have any idea about BLSX?
Sorry, one second. Yeah, Mehul, please go ahead.
Do you have any idea of BLSX?
VLSX, we have honestly not had a chance to do a very deep dive on because it was a new company जिसमें financials available ही नहीं थे. So I am sorry, but I'll not be able to comment on VLSX. Right, moving on.
So I have one question. Like
Yeah,
most of the very less that we would get to invest at a lower price, and most of them would be like doing very well, already doing very well, like around 400 plus or 500 or maybe close to 1,000 plus something. So by the time we come to know, they are already doing very well and they are at highest price, right? So is that not possible for us to, get into that those scripts in the early stage where it is really growing and have a potential to, go up to 3 or 4x?
absolutely. I think that is the entire idea with which we work. So typically, why we discussed HDB on the call and we said that we don't find value anymore in that, or why we discussed Vikram Solar and we discussed if we don't find value. While growth will still be there, but the valuation is something which will not allow us to make a 3x, 4x return. So therefore, we kind of avoid those companies. Going
Yes, my question is something to some extent you answered. At this point of time, like we're realizing that it's not to go ahead. But had we known before, like before even it reaches at this level, and which you already said in one of the in the previous conversation, you
Right.
already quoted as an example that it has in a 6 months of span, it has gone up to at good level. So at that point, like even before it takes or shape ups, you know that stage if we could get,
No,
that
I
would be
absolutely agree.
ideally.
And see, these are all companies which we have covered in the past. So HDP, we were very gung ho about when it was at about 580 to 650.
Okay.
And Vikram, we were very, very active. I mean, a lot of people on the call would have invested when it was between 150 and 200. So these are companies which we have earlier invested into. We are not talking about them now. We had spoken about them a year back. We liked them, and we also liked the valuation at which they were available. Now, because we feel that the market has given them too quick a run up in a very short time span, is why we have to be more cautious on the valuation. Hope that
Hi,
helps.
Abhishek.
I would
Hi,
love to hear
Abhishek.
out if there are such things for the upcoming years, like how you explained now, right?
Makes sense.
So
So I
yeah,
think actually the idea of
apart
covering
from
this
what we are
is
doing
to
now,
give you
yeah,
some opportunities in that sense. But I am happy to connect with you after the call on a separate,
sure,
WhatsApp or something,
sure.
so that we can also cover some other questions.
Abhishek Vamsi here.
Yeah, hi, Vam.
Yeah, I'm existing investor from your end. Okay, I
Right.
bought it Vare and Urban Dots GKN. Just slightly explain about the Urban Dots. Okay, I mean and GKN. I mean GKN. This time we can book the profits. What about the and
ZKN
Urban
is
Dots?
a decent company. I think currently it's about 1400, 1500 a share. Earlier, I think it was about 1100, 1200 a share. It gives a good dividend yield also, 4 5%. It is in a decent segment. So that is something which you can consider holding on also. Urban Dots, typically, it's a company which is more of a startup rather than a full-fledged company. So it is basically doing indigenous toy manufacturing in India, which there are very few players kind of trying to work around that. So that is that you'll have to view from a lens that in case they are able to crack it and if they are able to build a large distribution, then they will generate multifold returns. But if they are not, then I mean that remains to be seen. So for urban dots, I cannot give you a clear-cut answer. You'll have to believe the thesis of the company if you want to stay invested for a long term.
I mean, at least 2 to 3 years we can expect some what you mentioned like 2x or 3x.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ravinder, if you could quickly ask your question.
Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mainly, I wanted to ask on Worry.
Yeah.
I couldn't buy it unlisted.
Sure.
So now can I buy it post listing, like Monday, Tuesday? I can try.
Post listing, obviously, but you'll have to buy it from the exchange essentially.
Yeah.
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 Of course. I mean, after
So is it
listing,
worth,
right.
or should I
Um,
wait for correction?
See, I mean, that's what we discussed. I think the current markets are in a place wherein there might be a better entry opportunity a little way down the line.
Okay.
So we'll have to see how the listing goes, what is the premium which opens, and then kind of decide. So maybe if you would want, we can have a quick chat post the listing happening.
Because what I'm expecting is like I had applied for KP Green Energy
Yeah,
engineering.
right.
So it is still giving me 150%. It didn't come back to the opening cost or the IPO cost.
Correct.
So I'm expecting same because this is a better company.
Right.
So I think my idea is to plan 50% entry on Monday, Tuesday, and then add 50% if it falls. Because
Yeah, I
my
mean,
my
yeah, I
my
think dollar cost averaging is by far the most logical way to enter into a stock wherein we are unclear of how the
right.
things will play out.
Because my horizon is like 5 years, minimum 5 years.
I agree. For a long term, I personally like Wari. So I mean, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. And one more question about Oyo. Is it the right time to buy unlisted?
Oyo, I think in numbers it is doing good. Today
Okay.
itself they reported the Q2 numbers. So earlier they were doing in 24 they did a PAT of about 29 crores.
I
Uh,
just heard that they are profitable now.
yeah. So no, last year also they were profitable. So last year they
Okay.
reported 230 crore PAT. Q1 they reported 140 and Q2 they reported 150. So they have already done 300 crores of PAT. So hopefully they will close the year somewhere around 700 crores PAT. So if they're able to keep it up while also maintaining growth, then I think IPO should not be too far away and they should do decently well. What will be crucial for Oyo is they have done a large ticket acquisition of Motel 6 and a couple
Right.
of
Right.
vacation home companies in the European market. If they are able to work those well and ensure that they are able to grow that with reducing costing, because now they have an Indian base, plus they are servicing outside, plus they have a better technology than what those companies had. That will be a critical factor for Oyo to crack the next 2-3 years. And if it does that, I think it will be a very different company 2 to 3 years down the line.
So when is the IPO expected?
IPO, we expect it to do somewhere in the next 18 to 24 months, 1.5 to 2 years max.
Okay. 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 That's it. I'll enter Oyo.
Thank you.
Any other new suggestion which will be very lucrative, like something like in a very early stage?
Early stage, sir, we'll connect a little offline. I mean, if that's
Okay.
okay.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Mr. Vijay, if you could kindly ask your question.
Yeah, Abhishek Vijay here. हेलो
हाँ सर, I can hear you. Yeah.
सर ये कंपनी आपने बोला था मेरे को उसका 2800 कुछ पीई दिखा रहा है यहाँ पे ना आपके वेबसाइट पे।
कौन सी कंपनी की आप बात कर रहे हैं?
3 कंपनी आपने लास्ट में दी थी ना, एक
हाँ जी, हाँ जी, हाँ जी।
इंडोफिल और एक वो।
करेक्ट।
तो इतना कॉस्टली शेयर है क्या सर? रियल में एक्चुअली उसका फिगर्स कुछ मिस्टेक है कुछ वहाँ पे वेबसाइट।
कौन सी कंपनी का?
नमने ना कैपिटल करके था ना, विवांतिक कैपिटल, विविनिक कैपिटल।
विकृति कैपिटल। अच्छा, विकृति कैपिटल में क्या है कि FY24 में इनकी एक सब्सिडरी थी जिसमें लॉसेस बहुत बड़े थे। इस साल उन्होंने वो सब्सिडरी को में स्टेक बेच दिया है एंड बिकॉज ऑफ सेलिंग स्टेक इन दैट सब्सिडरी वो कंसोलिडेशन नहीं होगा। तो स्टैंड अलोन बिजनेस इज वेरी प्रॉफिटेबल जिसमें 200 करोड़ का पैट आता है, बट बिकॉज उनका सब्सिडरी था जो कंसोलिडेट हो रहा था इसलिए वो प्राइस टू बुक उनका आर्टिफिशियली लो हो जाता है। That I think once you see the FY24-25 results, that will be better. And we had covered everything in detail in the last presentation. So I'll send you the deck to that.
Yeah, I need that one.
So I'll share that with you. उसमें I think you will get your answers. We had covered that in the
और
last.
इंडोफिल का सर आपको लगता है कुछ आईपीओ आने के चांसेस है इंडोफिल के?
अभी
जो हमने शेयर खरीदा आपसे, आई थिंक 4-5 साल हो गए आपसे खरीदे हुए शेयर।
हाँ जी, तो लाइक आई सेड कि आई थिंक यू वुड हैव मेड मनी। आई थिंक वो 600-700 रुपए के आसपास था 3-4 साल, अभी 1400 रुपए पे है। तो
प्रॉफिट है।
हाँ, वैल्यू हैज गॉन अप, बट आईपीओ इसमें क्लैरिटी नहीं है क्योंकि इसमें एंटायर प्रॉब्लम है कि फैमिली में स्ट्रगल चल रहा है मदर सन में। सो देयरफॉर वी आर नॉट क्लियर ऑन हाउ क्विकली दे विल रिजॉल्व एंड क्रिएट अ लिक्विडिटी फॉर अस।
एक सर ये एक और क्वेरी है, रिंग एक्वा प्लस आपको कैसा लगता है सर शेयर?
सर एक क्वेश्चन करके करते बिकॉज़ आई हैव अ
हेलो
लास्ट रिंग एक्वा प्लस।
Ring Aqua, sir, it is a good company, small company. Again, we'll have to understand the valuation a little better क्योंकि इसमें कोई बहुत known peer नहीं है, so I'm not able to give you a clear cut answer. But again, I think Ring Aqua we can connect offline. It's a small company, so one-to-one करें।
हेलो
थैंक यू।
हेलो
Subhash ji, if you could go next.
Hello, I want to ask, is it right time to enter HDFC Securities?
It is not priced too high. 5% का dividend yield आता है इस price पे। They have a large base of clients coming from HDFC Bank. After the recent change in the brokerage norms, larger players should benefit. So it might take some time for the value unlocking to happen क्योंकि HDB का IPO पहले आएगा. But other than that, I find it is a decent investment. It's not very expensive. It gives you a very good dividend return, 5% yearly, and brand name is very strong. Business segment is very strong, very profitable. So can look at it.
Yeah, I want to invest for next
Hello.
5 to 10 years. So I'm
So
thinking,
that's
okay, is it
yeah,
good time?
sounds good.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Okay, thank you, Abhishek. Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Hello.
Hello.
So I think Roshni, if you could mute everyone else apart from the person who's asking the question, then we'll be able to hear.
सर एक क्वेश्चन पूछना था.
Sir, I'll just take line by line. So I'm following a queue. So queue may I'll take your
Okay.
question.
Okay.
Kalpesh ji, if you could unmute and ask your question.
So कोई भी हमने प्री आईपीओ शेयर लिया हुआ है.
जी.
So what would be the right approach? Should we sell it just before the IPO gets launched? या हमें IPO लिस्ट होने के बाद 6 महीने लॉक इन के बाद बेचो? व्हाट इज द राइट अप्रोच? बिकॉज इसमें समझ में नहीं आ रहा है बेस्ड ऑन द वॉलेटिलिटी व्हाट शुड बी द वे फॉरवर्ड, मतलब कैसे करना चाहिए?
Agree. Beautiful question. I think this is a question which is relevant for everyone कि किस समय sell करना सबसे beneficial होता है. So what we have seen is typically IPO के ठीक पहले the market excitement in the stock is the highest, and therefore you might actually get a better pricing now than what you will get even 3 months, 4 months later. Now this might not be true for say certain companies जहाँ पे आपको 5-year story दिख रहा है. Say for example Wari, a lot of people are super positive that they want to stay invested for 5, 6, 7 years. So there it doesn't make sense to exit just because you can get in 5% lower or 10% lower. वहाँ 5-10% का गेम नहीं है, 3x 4x का गेम है. तो वहाँ मैं एडवाइस नहीं करता हूँ एग्जिट करने के लिए. बट जहाँ पे अपने को वैल्यूएशन बहुत स्टीप मिल रहा है, फॉर एग्जांपल एचडीबी. अब एचडीबी आज के दिन अगर मुझे आज एग्जिट मिल रहा है 1300 और 1350 रुपए पे, which is at a price to book of almost 8 times. So it makes sense to kind of take a partial or a full exit because there are better opportunities which will give us higher return predictably in the future. So summarizing my answer to your question, it depends upon the company. If we are looking at it from a very long horizon, then I don't advise कि 10% के लिए exit करें. But जहाँ लग रहा है कि प्राइवेट में ही अपने को वैल्यूएशन बहुत अच्छा मिल जा रहा है एंड प्रोबेबली आईपीओ और पोस्ट आईपीओ द प्राइसिंग विल नॉट बी एबल टू कीप दैट लेवल्स मेंटेन, देन वी शुड आइडियली एग्जिट.
Got it. नहीं, वो तो लिस्टेड स्टॉक्स तो इट इज इंडिपेंडेंट, मतलब वो दैट कैन बी टेकन. वो तो आप यू वुड बी वी कुड बी बुलिश ऑन मल्टीपल स्टॉक्स. वो तो एक अलग बास्केट हम बना सकते हैं. तो वारी को जिसको 10 साल लेना है तो देर वैसे काफी स्टॉक्स होंगे. बट इफ वी वांट टू कीप आवर आईपीओ मनी इन आईपीओ इटसेल्फ इवन आफ्टर लिस्टिंग, तो वो तो बेच के वापस उसमें ही लाना, प्री आईपीओ बास्केट.
एब्सोल्युटली मेक्स सेंस.
ओके, तो सेलिंग इज मच मोर एडवाइजेबल बिफोर द आईपीओ कम्स, राइट?
हां, बिकॉज़ उस समय लिक्विडिटी एंड प्राइसिंग आपको काफी अच्छी मिल जाती है. Just before the IPO, there is a lot of froth in the market. A lot of new people have entered. They want to take invest into the company before the IPO. तो वहाँ पे अगर आप 3-4 साल से होल्ड कर रहे हैं, आपने
लिस्टिंग गेन का इज ऑलरेडी दैट उसके अंदर आ जाता है. दैट इज ऑलरेडी
कंपनी टू कंपनी थोड़ा वेरी करता है, मतलब स्ट्रेट जैकेट आंसर नहीं है. बट
ओके,
टिपिकली हाँ, क्लोजर टू द आईपीओ प्राइसिंग अच्छा मिल जाता है. तो इवैल्यूएट करना चाहिए उस समय एंड देन टेक अ कॉल कि डज इट मेक सेंस टू स्टे इन्वेस्टेड और एग्जिट.
sure, thank you. We'll talk separately. I had a couple of more things.
Absolutely. Sorry. Vinny ji, if you could go ahead.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah, please go ahead, sir.
Yes, actually you were talking about the Pro Plus account, right? So
Right.
apparently I did, enroll for that in a month.
Okay.
Till if I log into your portal, I get, the tab of get your Pro done for this amount. I mean, it has not been updated. When I inquired about it, I was told that it is just, for the portal usage, I paid an amount of, I believe, 12,000 something, 12,399 rupees. I think if I go to Altius website, मैं कभी भी जाके login करके, anybody can do that, right? Why would I have to pay 12,000 rupees for that? So I didn't get it.
The Pro account essentially gives you access to lower pricing also. So if you So I am assuming कि आपके account में upgrade नहीं आया है. I will just get that done right after the call. And once you are able to log in post your account has been upgraded, you will see a lower pricing than what you see otherwise. Plus whatever.
Right.
हाँ जी, वो
Right,
मैं आपको right
because
after the call करवा देता हूँ.
Right. Because मैंने अभी तक जितने भी शेयर्स लिए हैं, I've done NSE, I've done HDB and all that, वो फिर जो नॉर्मल एक बंदे को दिखता है, I mean, I haven't got any.
It will be a different pricing for you. It will be a different access route for you. मैं उसको अपडेट करवा देता हूँ अभी आपके अकाउंट में से बाय अराउंड 6 PM में एडिट करवा के आपको पर्सनली भी इन्फॉर्म करवा दूँ.
Thank you so much.
बिल्कुल सर,
Thank you.
बिल्कुल. Shivam ji, if you would want to unmute and ask.
Yeah, hi. What are your views on NSE, especially after the split? Because since the split, it has gone to like 2,000 per share.
Right.
So that is about 100% gain in the last 1 year or so.
Correct. So again, I think it has gone up because BSE is also going up irrationally. So BSE का PE भी काफी high हो गया है. I think parallelly what people realize that अगर BSE इतना जा रहा है तो NSE का भी increase in multiple आ जाना चाहिए. But yes, if it is too fast, then it is always sensible to wait and let the market stabilize, rationalize. Because once it has gone up too fast, then for some time it might not perform that well. But other than that, as a stock NSE, we feel that it is something which you can hold for say a decade or so, and it's a fantastic business. It does not require any capital investment. It is a very high ROE business. It is a very regulated business. So NSE को छोड़ के कोई नया monopoly इसमें बनेगा नहीं. BSE does not have too much sway in the F&O segment. So broadly, in terms of business, we absolutely like it. Valuation, yes, because 6 महीने में बहुत quick growth आ गया है. Therefore, for some time, it might be straight line. So, if you are planning to do a new entry, you can kind of wait and then do it.
Okay, got it. And can you also share your views on Tata Capital, please?
Tata Capital is very expensive in my opinion. We had covered this in the previous call. We find very little value to invest into it. Practically because the price to book is almost around 16, 17. So इसने multiple pay NBFC investment, I am not able to make sense of it. Yeah.
Okay, got it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Rohit ji, if you could go ahead next. So Rohit ji is not responding. Sanjay ji, if you would want to go next.
हेलो.
हाँ सर, please go ahead.
सर नमस्ते. एक्चुअली एचडीबी के बारे में तो आपने थोड़ा बताई है काफी
जी.
उसमें कोई शंका नहीं. सवाल था कि ऑलरेडी हमने आपसे एचडीबी लिया था एट द प्राइस ऑफ एक्चुअली 1050 रुपीज. तो एक्चुअली 3-4 साल पहले तो काफी दिन से 6,000 रुपए तक आया था. उस वक्त काफी लोग बोल रहे थे कि अरे बाहर पड़ो, बाहर निकलो. एक्चुअली उतना उनका कॉन्फिडेंस नहीं आया क्योंकि एचडीएफसी ग्रुप से बिलोंग करती है इसलिए.
करेक्ट.
तो अभी वी आर वेरी कंफ्यूज्ड कि अभी क्या करना है. एक्चुअली रेट पे अभी हम 2-3 साल भी वेट कर सकते हैं. एक्चुअली थोड़ा समझ में नहीं आ रहा है कि बहुत लोग कंफ्यूज कर रहे हैं. लेकिन आपसे थोड़ा सा मुझे जानना था कि ये बहुत जरूरी है कि आपसे थोड़ा सलाह मिला तो बहुत अच्छा होगा हमें.
तो जैसे कि मैंने कवर किया, एचडीबी मुझे लगता है कि जो मल्टीपल करेंटली है दैट इज अराउंड 8 टाइम्स बुक. टिपिकली आफ्टर आईपीओ एंड लिस्टिंग गेन 7 to 8 to 9 के बीच में आना चाहिए. तो यहाँ से मुझे बहुत ज्यादा ऊपर जाते हुए नहीं दिखता है, अनलेस की कंपनी अचानक से 40-50% की ग्रोथ पे काम करने लग जाए. बट इतने बड़े बुक साइज में वो अचीव करना भी थोड़ा मुश्किल है मेरे हिसाब से. यही अगर किसी कंपनी का बुक 8,000-9,000 करोड़ है तो वो 12-15,000 करोड़ कर सकती है इन 2-3 years. बट 1 लाख करोड़ के बुक को आपको अगर 1.5 लाख करोड़ करना है इन 1 year तो वो थोड़ा चैलेंजिंग हो जाता है. सेकेंडली, अगर मुझे इंडिपेंडेंटली करना हो तो फिर मैं बजाज फाइनेंस क्यों नहीं लूँ, क्योंकि वो तो लिस्टिंग भी है, लिक्विडिटी भी है, लोअर वैल्यूएशन पे भी मिल रहा है. तो कंसिडरिंग ऑल ऑफ दैट, आई फील दैट मे बी रूम टू ग्रो फर्दर very fast is not there.
ओके, ग्रोथ होगा लेकिन इतना फास्ट जितना चाहे उतना नहीं होगा.
हाँ जी, हाँ जी, हाँ जी.
ओके ओके ओके, थैंक यू.
Thank you. Shailesh ji, if you could go ahead.
सर मैं आपका पोर्टल पे रेगुलर विजिट करता हूँ, तो सर उसमें थोड़ा सा जो लिस्टेड हो गए हैं तो उसका थोड़ा सा अलग कुछ बना सकते हैं, या जो नए ऐड होते हैं तो उसका कुछ न्यू ऐसा कर सकते हैं तो हमें देखने में थोड़ा आसानी हो जाएगी सर.
Fair point, sir. डैशबोर्ड में हम एक अपडेट ला रहे हैं, उसमें एनी न्यू कंपनी विच वी आर डूइंग और एनी कंपनी विच इज गोइंग फॉर आईपीओ, उसको हम स्पेसिफिकली हाईलाइट कर देंगे. तो एब्सोल्यूट वैलिड फीडबैक, ये हमें और लोगों ने भी फीडबैक दिया है, सो वी विल गेट दिस डन फॉर श्योर.
ओके सर, थैंक यू सर.
Who's next? Chetan ji, if you would want to go.
Yes, sir. Can you please take me lately because I am driving currently?
Sorry. Acha, okay, no problem. Vishal ji, if you would want to go next.
Hello. Hello. हाँ sir, do you have any idea about taxation when we sell this unlisted share after listing?
अगर आपने 2 साल होल्ड किया है तो 12.5% विदाउट इंडेक्सेशन जो आपको लिस्टेड में मिलता है, सेम टैक्सेशन आप पे भी अप्लाई करता है. अगर आपने एसटीटी लगा के बेचा है जो आप लिस्टिंग के बाद बेचते हो, अगर शॉर्ट टर्म है तो 20%, अगर लॉन्ग टर्म है तो 12.5% ऑन योर ओवरऑल गेन.
Okay, it's not like listed companies, ना?
अब लिस्टेड अनलिस्टेड में टैक्सेशन सेम है, मतलब होल्डिंग पीरियड इज वेरिएंस इज डिफरिंग. अनलिस्टेड में होल्डिंग पीरियड फॉर लॉन्ग टर्म इज 2 years, लिस्टेड में होल्डिंग पीरियड फॉर लॉन्ग टर्म इज 1 year. अदर देन दैट टैक्सेशन फॉर लॉन्ग टर्म इज द सेम, इधर भी 12.5 है, उधर भी 12.5 है.
Okay sir.
Thank you. Mr. Hem Sundar, if you would want to.
Sir, I am available now. Chetan this side.
Please go ahead, sir.
Yeah. So first question was I was looking to Wari share. It is yeah. It was available last week at 2900, but the IPO ban was introduced at 1500 around. So how it is happening and why it is happening?
Sir, ये basically the company sometimes price their इसमें actually there are multiple things at play. तो मैं आपको जनरलिस्टिक आंसर देता हूँ. आई एम नॉट श्योर वारी में एग्जैक्टली क्या है. सो पहला होता है कि जब कंपनी इनिशियली फाइल करती है उस समय जो वैल्यूएशन रेगुलेटर को बोलती है उसके एक प्लस माइनस रेंज में उनको आईपीओ लाना पड़ता है, अदरवाइज दे हैव टू रीफाइल. सेकंड इज इफ द अमाउंट व्हिच इज बीइंग डाइल्यूटेड इज लो, टू मेक द आईपीओ अट्रैक्टिव पीपल प्राइस देयर आईपीओ लो. So what you can quickly look at is price band plus the GMP in the market. तो अगर आप आज के दिन आईपीओ का GMP देखोगे वारी पे तो ऑलमोस्ट 100% का ग्रे मार्केट प्रीमियम चल रहा है. So the expectation is that the listing will happen at 3000 only.
Okay. Okay, then
evaluate करो, सिर्फ प्राइस बैंड से मत evaluate करिए, because price band can be dependent on a lot of things. So typically look at price band plus the grey market premium to understand कि अच्छा भाव actually कितना मार्केट आज के दिन कंपनी को दे रहा है.
Okay. Okay, right. So it was not very good idea to buy any stock at the time of filing DHRP.
At the time of filing DRHP is fine, but absolutely just before the IPO की IPO date 10 दिन बाद आ रहा है, उस समय लेने का उतना लॉजिक नहीं है, because आपको उतना डेल्टा नहीं मिलता है वहां से.
Okay, okay, right.
DRHP फाइलिंग डेट से IPO आते आते तो कभी कभी 6 महीने 1 साल 2 साल लग जाते हैं, तो वहां उतना फ्रॉथ नहीं आता है. फ्रॉथ आता है जब आपका लिस्टिंग बहुत पास आ गया है, तो टिपिकली वहां पे यू हैव टू बी अ लिटिल मोर कंजर्वेटिव.
Okay. And my second question is, sir, if I want to place equity share of my company privately, how I can do it?
We're happy to connect with you. एक बार आप या तो मेरे से या मेरी टीम में जिससे भी आप कनेक्टेड हो, if you can share your proposal, we can definitely try and evaluate that. No problem.
Okay, so I hope I would be able to get the email ID or contact number over the website. Is it?
Yeah, and I think the people have also posted on the chat box. My team has posted both our email and numbers on the chat box. So if you could just from the chat box. That would be helpful.
Okay, noted, sir. Thanks.
Okay, let me just put up the queue.
Hello.
Anji. So, Mr. Mustafa, if you could quickly go next.
Hello.
Anji, please go ahead.
हेलो हाँ सर
I can hear you, sir. Please बताइए.
सर अभी प्रेजेंट में मतलब कोई सा भी एक स्टॉक खरीदना तो वारी एनर्जी या फिर वारी नहीं सर सॉरी विक्रम सोलार या फिर ग्रीन अपोलो ग्रीन.
सर विक्रम तो लाइक मैंने अभी कवर किया. मेरे हिसाब से तो स्टॉक थोड़ा महंगा हो गया. बाकी अगर आपको लगता है कि पोटेंशियल अच्छा है तो यू कैन इवैल्यूएट. अपोलो ग्रीन इज अ स्लाइटली स्मॉलर कंपनी. आई थिंक दैट प्राइसिंग वाइज इट इज ओके, बट कंपनी क्या करती है वो थोड़ा सा अभी अनक्लियर है, क्योंकि उसके अंदर लेदर और ट्रेडिंग बिजनेस भी है. तो वो जब तक वो लोग ठीक से डाइवर्सिफाई करके क्लैरिटी नहीं देते हैं कि कंपनी में कर क्या रहे हैं, तब तक मुझे थोड़ा कंफर्ट कम आता है. बट अदर देन दैट आई थिंक पीपल आर पॉजिटिव ऑन इट, सो कैन लुक एट इट. Perfect. Mr. Surendra Ahuja, if you would want to possibly go next.
Can you hear me, Mr. Abhishek?
Yeah, absolutely, sir. Please tell me.
Yeah, my question is, what are your thoughts on Orbis and Polymatic?
Okay. Orbis, sir, I think it's a company which has been doing very well. They have entered into a segment which was essentially a very stable segment. I mean, custodial services या demat services कोई नया segment नहीं है, but they created a very nice niche for them, and they were able to essentially grow and scale their business very well for the last 3-4 years. They raised money from the right people. So I think they raised money from Ashish Kacholia and some other race investors about 4 years back. And post that, they have been able to increase both the top line, bottom line at an average CAGR of 45-50%. So that way, I think the company has done phenomenally well. In terms of how it is panned out, pricing also has zoomed up a lot. So when we started offering Orbis, that was about 60-65 rupees a share. I think आज के दिन करीबन 400-410 रुपए का भाव चलता है. So again, in Orbis, run up is very quick. At this level of run up, again we have to be a little careful. But company otherwise, I personally like. So I feel that the business is good. I feel that the backers are good. IPO भी आना चाहिए इसका. And I have seen that a lot of areas in which they are working in custodial services specifically, a lot of new people who are wanting custodial services are going with Orbis. So they have been able to create a good market for them.
And Polymatic?
Polymatic, sir, there is very little data to go on. I think my risk with Polymatic is that उनका visibility थोड़ा poor है. In terms of FY24 numbers, quarterly numbers. So on the face of it, the company looks very good. अगर मैं purely numbers पे बात करूँ तो. But other than that, because the management is a little reserved and not very forthcoming, therefore I have some concerns regarding that. Yeah.
All right, that's helpful. I have sent you a WhatsApp text as well, asking a little bit of a personal question. I would appreciate if you can connect later.
I'll do that, sir. Surely.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, sir. Perfect. I think we've been able to answer most questions. Typically, we want to wrap up the session in an hour. We are at an hour 15 minutes. So I would kindly suggest that anyone who did not get a chance to ask, please drop me a text on WhatsApp. My number is there on the chat. The team is there on the chat. Happy to connect on a one-to-one basis. Thank you everyone for joining in. Thank you for taking the time to hear us out. It is always a pleasure interacting with all of you. Wish you all and your families a very happy Diwali and a prosperous New Year. Take care. Thank you.